At NC State, they had a building with a lot of growth chambers called the Hydrotron. So for me, I just said I'm doing everything in hydroponics. So I Googled the internet and I found a Aquatron, which is something that improves water, but I didn't find anything to do with Hydrotron. So I said it's out there, and before it becomes a superhero like Magnetron or something from a transformer, I said let's put it on the side of the building, and so we grow plants in water. Aquaponics is a marriage between hydroponics, growing plants without soil in a nutrient solution, and aquaculture, which is growing fish and crustaceans and other aquatic animals in a confined space. The Hydrotron is where we do hydroponics and aquaponics. We do hydroponics where we have fruiting plants that make tomatoes, cucumbers, and peppers and strawberries because they need a stronger salt concentration in the water than fish can survive in. But fish also provide the waste for the lettuce, the leafy plants that grow in the grass and such like that. I want somebody to walk into the Hydrotron and say, I can do this. I see this as a job. I could live in the city and I could have this greenhouse and I could still have a city lifestyle but be a producer, and now food doesn't have to travel very far and it's going to be super fresh, and there's a huge demand for local food. We're going to see the backyard version where we took an IBC tote and cut it in a certain way where we have a gravel media on top. So that's the media-based aquaponic system, and the media becomes the filter. So there's no filter system in it, and all the waste goes up in there, and you put worms in there, and that makes the nutrients more available for the plants. And in that system, I can grow the fruiting plants. I can grow the tomatoes and the cucumbers and all, and it has a much smaller footprint. So this is the media-based system. What happens is the fish live down here and water is slowly being pumped up here all the time. The pump never stops. So the fish solids end up here in this gravel. So we actually will plant our plants into here, and because the pump never stops, it'll start slowly filling with water. I think we're making it affordable for people who want to be in the backyard situation, but we're also trying to prepare people for industry. Industry is looking for trained employees, and they're going to have something that seems less affordable for the homeowner, but a lot more efficient. But we're learning that you can spend as much or as little as you want, like any hobby. So it has to start with the fish. That's where the waste comes from. The most important thing about fish is watching them eat. That's what we really need to do. If they stop eating, something's wrong with the water quality. And for us, they did stop eating, and we were wondering what the problem was, but they were too cold, or the greenhouse wasn't warm enough. So getting the water warmer solves so many problems. Ammonia comes out of the gills of the fish, and that's converted to nitrite, converted to nitrate by the bacteria in this cylinder, and there's a lot of oxygen in there to make everything thrive. Comes out of the one chamber, and then it goes to a clarifier, which anything that can settle, settles. Goes through an anaerobic chamber, which really slows the water down and gives a different type of microorganism to attach to it, and it's going to be oxygen deprived, and that makes the nutrients a little bit more available. Then it goes into an oxygenating chamber that brings it back up, because all the water needs to be heavily oxygenated. We're not going to be able to bubble it enough to get too much oxygen. Then it goes to the plants. So this is a floating raft on top of a column of water this big. It has a lot of aeration in it as well. We're always aerating the water, and we just transplanted these little cubes of soil. It's a cocoa fiber actually, and the older they are, the more it'll hold together, and we just set them down in the raft. This is an older plant. The idea of aquaponics is about 40 days to mature whatever you want to eat, and these have been in here more than 40 days. So they're big, but we look bountiful in here, but this is a remnant of not having success germinating plants and not having something to put right back in, and something needed to be in here to stay in balance with the fish. We always need to have fish, we always need to have plants. Well, if you grow tomatoes in a raft and it's the same water the fish are living in, you'll get a lot of leaves but you won't get a lot of fruit. They just won't get that big. The concentration of potassium and other nutrients aren't enough in the water that fish live in, and that's why we do that in hydroponics. You can do that in the media field aquaponics. Outside is our example of that, and that's where the solids go, and worms are in there, and there is more nutrients in that system because the media is the filter. What's just closest to me are cucumbers. They grow up, they come back down. We grow strawberries. Behind me is tomatoes and peppers. Those are hydroponics. That's that saltier nutrient solution that fish can't live in that is needed for these fruiting plants. But because they have a lot more nutrients, they have more insect problems, and we're working through spider mites and aphids right now. So the spider mites really like the tomatoes, and the aphids like everything. So what happened is the spider mites came in with the strawberries that we were planting, and we were busy getting everything else going, and we didn't pay it much attention, and spider mites got kind of out of control. So we were spraying this garlic fire water on them, which doesn't last very long, and it can kind of kill the beneficials. So now we've gotten a lot of ladybugs and lacewings and these other predatory mites, because anything that we apply has to be safe for the fish. I like to see more vertical orientation of my beds rather than having it horizontal, but more in cylinders, and increasing the amount of plants so that I can get on a square foot inside the greenhouse, and then saying, hey, what could we do for the animals in the farm? Let's see if we could grow just enough leafy grass or something more quickly in like 30 days or something like that, with less water than it takes to grow outside in the fields. And if we just had a bunch of columns and could produce year-round, now there's less chance in a drought that you would have to purchase any hay, because I can grow plants year-round with a lot less water than any plant grown in soil. Well, it's going to be the future of a lot of agriculture, and I teach a class called Aquaponics Galore. Tarleton students are real hands-on, and they want to experience it, and this is really good to say, hey, this is the problem we're having now, and this is how we're solving it. So there's kind of a day-to-day drama they can live through and rejoice with the good times when we're having a bountiful feast, or console me when we're being eaten up by spider mites, and how we're going to solve that problem and stuff. So I take a lot of pictures, and we see the pictures in class. So if student did A but not B and did C, they see what B was in pictures, so they know the whole story. Our Facebook is called Aquaponics Hydrotron. So Hydrotron is all you really need to search for to find us. And the course number right now is a problems course, so we're still finding that magic 4-digit number to tell people what it is. And the class has been going for 1 semester, and we started construction of the Hydrotron in October. So it was a turf grass greenhouse, and half of it's been converted into aquaponics and hydroponics.